What's not to love about a cracking pro wrestling debut? Jericho dueling with The Rock, AJ Styles in the Rumble, that second Doink the Clown at WrestleMania 9, all genre-defining moments, you will agree. But after that initial pop wears off, it's business as usual, and in order to propel new Wrestler X up the card, they're likely to have a series of basic matches against lesser opponents in order to get them over with the audience. Very rarely though, WWE takes one look at a talent and says, you know what, go out and do what you do best, and we get treated to some absolutely incredible debut bouts. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best WWE debut matches ever. Join us.
But before we start, today's list is sponsored by NordVPN. We at Cultaholic truly believe that Nord is the best service of its kind. Firstly, it's super easy to use. Connect with one click or enable auto-connect for zero-click protection. There are over 5,300 servers in 60 countries, which is a hell of a lot. It has amazing speed, confirmed by the speed tests. NordVPN is the fastest VPN out there, and it's on every major platform. Oh, and there's a brand new threat protection feature, offering protection from trackers, malware, and even pop-ups and other intrusive ads. Great for browsing mucky websites, speaking from experience. So here's how I use Nord. Obviously I live in the United Kingdom, but with NordVPN I could set myself to be anywhere in the world virtually and access content from those regions. So this means, if I fancied it, I could set myself to be somewhere else in the world virtually and sign up for a certain sports entertainment network for a much cheaper price. Or, if I happen to live in the United States, I could sign up for that sports entertainment network, even though it doesn't really exist in the United States anymore. No peacocking about, just great quality graps for a much cheaper price. It's the equivalent of buying a cup of fancy coffee every month. A small price to pay, I'm sure you'll agree, for premium cybersecurity and access to a whole range of entertaining content. Oh, and there's even a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if NordVPN isn't for you, you can get your money back, no bother at all. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by heading to nordvpn.com/cultaholic. There is a link in the description below, obviously, and get a huge discount on your NordVPN plan, plus brand new threat protection, plus an additional month for free. nordvpn.com/cultaholic. And remember, if it's not for you, you can get your money back. 30-day money back guarantee. You cannot say fairer than that, but trust me, you're not going to want to get rid of this. Pays for itself. nordvpn.com/cultaholic. Click the link below.
Number 10, Tommy End vs Neville at the WWE United Kingdom Championship Tournament 2017. Neville was often borderline furious during his WWE run, with the King of the Cruiserweights moaning in Blackpool after being omitted from the UK title tournament in 2017. Luckily, Nev was in his ring gear, I mean when is he not, as a debuting Tommy End sauntered down to the ring, also handily in his ring gear. What followed may have just been an exhibition match, but it was Neville versus Tommy End. Even if they half-assed it, it was still bound to be good. The two started slowly, but End soon came out firing with his trademark stiff kicks and strikes before hitting a big moonsault to the outside. Neville rallied back though and sealed the win with a red arrow. A somewhat understated and subdued start to life in WWE for End before he became Aleister Black and kicked 7 bells out of the NXT roster, the match was still a cracker. The two would clash again at WWE house shows, but would have to wait until joining AEW to batter each other properly on TV once more. Number 9, Rey Mysterio vs CHAVO GUERRERO on SmackDown. After the collapse of WCW, fans were eager to see what would happen with Rey Mysterio Jr. The Lucha legend was at times greatly mishandled by WCW, but when WWE signed him in 2002, they made the astute decision to remask him and hyped up his impending debut with weeks of impressive vignettes. By the time Mysterio debuted, fans were eager to see if he would be able to recapture that old WCW magic, and those fears were put to rest after Ray put on an impressive display against old rival CHAVO GUERRERO in his debut TV outing. It was a no-brainer to put Rey with somebody he knew well, and CHAVO made sure he made Mysterio's offense look great whilst pulling out some high-impact maneuvers of his own, such as a lovely gory bomb in tribute to his grandfather Gory Guerrero. His masked foe, on the other hand, chose this match to debut the 619, which would quickly become his calling card. Rey instantly became one of WWE's biggest stars, as there was simply no one else in the company doing what he did. Number 8, Pat McAfee vs Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver 30. When Pat McAfee and Adam Cole started swearing at each other like sailors on Pat's show, some fans thought, cute, but it won't lead to a match, so what's the point? Not only did it lead to a match, but it led to a match better than any of us could have hoped for. The two finally locked up at NXT TakeOver 30, and McAfee held himself like a star from the start. He had the mannerisms and cockiness down pat, no pun intended, and after ducking several of Cole's attacks, wiped everyone out at ringside with a pitch-perfect senton. The former NFL kicker wrestled like he'd been training for this moment for years, controlling the flow 1 minute, bumping like Kurt Hennig the next. The truth was, McAfee had been training for this moment for years, and despite Cole being the general, McAfee more than held his own. Never did we think that we would see a celebrity wrestler hit superplexes or take a Panama sunrise. Hell, Pat did more in this one match than some wrestlers did in their entire careers. Number 7, Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle vs Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 34. When Ronda Rousey appeared at WrestleMania 31 in a Dragon Ball Z shirt, the crowd couldn't wait to see her join The Rock in beating down Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. A few years later, Rock was out and Kurt Angle was in, and we finally had our match. Being a former UFC champion meant that Ronda had the foundations in place to take to the graps, and with ring general Triple H and wrestling machine Kurt Angle pulling the strings, the bout was built to beautifully to maximize Rousey's impact. To say Rowdy Ronda impressed in her pro wrestling debut is a massive understatement. The crowd were rabid for her, from smacking Stephanie McMahon about to throwing down with Hunter and then threatening to ragdoll the King of Kings. This was the perfect way to introduce Rousey as a total badass in front of a capacity WWE crowd. Plus, it was nice to see Stephanie finally get her comeuppance for once, wasn't it? Ross certainly thought so.
Kill! Kill! Oh my god! Murder! Murder! Kill! Kill! Kill!
Number 6, TAZZ vs Kurt Angle at the 2000 Royal Rumble. It's TAZZ! In 1999, TAZZ was the man in ECW. But after suplexing everything in his wake and finally defeating Shane Douglas for the ECW World title, WWE came calling, and TAZZ couldn't resist their offer, especially when he was told he would make his bow in Madison Square Garden at the Royal Rumble 2000. TAZZ's opponent, an undefeated Kurt Angle. The human suplex machine was given a hero's welcome when he made his way down to the ring before throwing Angle all over the garden like a gold medal winning frisbee. The bout was only short, but the two packed a lot in, mainly suplexes to be honest, and it was simply the perfect debut for TAZZ, getting the win after choking Angle out with the TAZZ mission. Unfortunately, this would prove to be the highlight of TAZZ's WWE in-ring career, as soon he would flounder in the hardcore division, his run ultimately hampered by injuries. Number 5, the Great Sasuke vs TAKA MICHINOKU at In Your House Canadian Stampede. Canadian Stampede is regarded by many as one of the greatest WWE pay-per-views ever, with the svelte 4-match card producing nothing but bangers. One of those 4 matches was the soft launch for WWF's light heavyweight division, as the Fed wanted to get some of the buzz WCW were getting for their cruiserweights. So naturally, they brought in TAKA MICHINOKU and fellow Japanese junior heavyweight sensation the Great Sasuke to kickstart the division. The two knew each other very well from their home Michinoku Pro promotion, and were given 10 minutes to show the world what they were all about. After a slow start, the two ramped up the action and brought the crowd along, with Sasuke kicking lumps out of Taka, with the Kaientai bad boy hitting a massive vaulting body press and a stiff Michinoku driver in response. Eventually, Sasuke got the win with a tiger suplex. Sadly though, he would only make one more WWE appearance before heading back to the Far East, but what an impression he made in his short time with the Fed. Number 4, The Shield vs RYBACK and Team Hell No at TLC 2012. Although NXT fans knew Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns prior to the Shield's formation, Dean Ambrose never wrestled on any form of WWE TV until TLC 2012, pink-haired job matches as Jon Moxley aside. Taking on Team Hell No and RYBACK in a TLC match, this was the first time the Hounds of Justice ever teamed, and all 6 men put everything on the line. There were tables and ladders and chairs, oh my! There was RYBACK getting smashed through the Spanish announce desk, Daniel Bryan cleaning house to a massive ovation, and Seth Rollins unceremoniously being launched through a giant stack of tables off a ladder on the entranceway. It was a high-impact, attention-grabbing debut and a certified star-making performance from the Rowdy Riot Rabble, as well as the first win of what would grow into a notable undefeated streak. Roman Reigns got the winning pin, of course, with D-Bry doing the honors after a top rope powerbomb through a table. Number 3, JUSHIN Liger versus Tyler Breeze at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 1. As NXT TakeOver became the byword for quality in WWE, something monumental was needed for the first ever Brooklyn TakeOver in 2015, the biggest show in NXT history at that point. Tyler Breeze was one of NXT's longest serving sons, so as a treat, William Regal decreed that he would face none other than JUSHIN Thunder Liger. The crowd were frothing at the gills as Liger made his way into a WWE ring for the first time ever, the two tasked with raising the curtain on the show. What we were treated to was a greatest hits from one of the greatest ever, with the underrated Breeze the perfect foil for the masked icon. Breeze tried his darndest to halt Liger's momentum, but in the end a solitary trademark Liger bomb was all she wrote. Corey Graves could not hide his excitement on commentary in getting to call a Liger match in WWE, and can you blame him? I mean, we'd only been waiting 22 years for the man to step into a WWE ring. The moment was worth the wait. Number 2, Daniel Bryan versus Chris Jericho on NXT Episode 1. The term dream match gets bandied about a little bit too much, to be honest, but when World Heavyweight Champion Chris Jericho decided that he wanted a fight on the debut episode of NXT, there was only one real candidate we wanted to see take him on: Daniel Bryan. The legit first-time meeting between the American Dragon and Lionheart was quick and to the point, but Bryan realized that he only had one chance to make a first impression and wrestled at 200 miles per hour, memorably smashing into the announce table ribs first after overshooting a suicide dive, Jericho improvising last second and transitioning the dive into a suplex. Jericho, to be fair to him, gave Bryan a lot, whilst Michael Cole threatened to ruin the bout by being Michael Cole. Inevitably, there was only ever going to be one winner, as Jericho locked in a Lion Tamer after Bryan earlier reversed a Walls of Jericho. After this sterling showing, the only way was up for Bryan, who lost every single match he had in NXT. Seriously, even Michael Tarver and David Otunga beat him. Ugh. Number 1, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn at NXT TakeOver Dallas. NXT's greatest ever signing was when they managed to get the signature of Shinsuke Nakamura, back when the King of Strong Style was one of the most popular stars in a resurgent New Japan. Coming at the height of NXT catering towards the more hardcore wrestling audience, buzz was absolutely through the roof when William Regal announced that Nakamura would make his debut at TakeOver Dallas against former NXT champion Sami Zayn. The crowd were at fever pitch before the bell even rang, with "This is awesome" and "Holy shrimp" chants ringing out as Nakamura made his way to the ring. Luckily, the match more than lived up to the hype, Zayn and Nakamura putting on a hard-hitting clinic in front of a molten hot crowd. For all fears that Nakamura would be WWE-ified, this was a true strong-style bout, and the two kicked puddles of piss out of one another, Nakamura eventually getting the win with a big Kinshasa. As an introduction of Nakamura to a wider audience, this could not have gone any better. And fans agreed, with many naming this one of the best matches of 2016, if not the very best.